Hello guys, my name is Cheemers, and today we're going to look at an interesting Magicka Templar build that I've been playing around with for a while, predominantly in no CP PvP as well as Battlegrounds. We'll quickly go over the skills and the sets, but before I do that I just want to quickly go through my sort of psychology when I approach building a particular setup on a certain class. What you want to do is you want to try and build towards the class's particular strengths. So looking at a Magicka Templar, its main strengths really are one, that it scales very well with crit damage. So just by having an Adric ability slotted, you get 10% extra crit damage. And the second thing that it scales really well with is max spell damage. So where is it? Here we go. So casting the Dawn's Wrath ability grants minor sorcery, increasing your spell damage by a further 10% on top of the typical 20% you get from major sorcery. So just quickly looking at the skills. Front bar is a dual wield bar. Purifying Light, Toppling Charge, Puncturing Sweeps, Radiant Oppression, Solar Barrage, Crescent Sweep. And then the back bar is an Ice Staff bar. You have Degeneration for our major sorcery, Race Against Time for snare removal and speed, Extended Ritual, Honor the Dead, Channeled Focus, and then Remembrance as our defensive ult. So, looking at the setup at the moment, we're running two different 5-piece sets active only on the front bar, and this goes back to what I was talking about before. We're trying to play to Magicka Templar strengths here, so crit damage in no CP tends to be fairly strong, because even though you don't have your plus crit damage modifiers from your CP, people have lower impen because they lose out on the crit resist from their CP as well. So mechanical acuity gives a very nice kind of burst window when it procs. So it's got a small uptime, but it's actually very effective. And what we want to be doing is we want to have just the one piece active on the front bar, because as you can see the 4-piece here is a max stam and max magicka, and to have that flip-flopping on and off if you were to have 2 pieces on the front bar would be suboptimal. The other set here is Spell Strategist. This is sort of single target focused, but it again gives a lot of spell damage, which again is amplified by the minor sorcery buff that Magicka Templars get as well. Additionally, you want to be using a set that doesn't give any spell crit bonuses, because they're rendered fairly redundant when you're running mechanical acuity as well. On the back bar we're running an Ice Staff Defending of Potentates. This is obviously a sort of staple in PvP at the moment. Reduces your damage taken from players by 5%. That's huge on your back bar, and the Ice Staff gives you the ability to block. The monster set we're running is Troll King. Troll King, you know, love it or hate it, it's a very effective set. It lets you stay on the offensive much longer, and that's one of the things that Magicka Templar struggles with a lot actually, is transitioning from all-out offense into having to go to all-out defense. If once you're on the back foot as a Magicka Templar, it can be quite hard to apply offensive pressure again. So Troll King works quite well. It's quite easily procced actually, because just by standing in your Purifying Ritual, and every hit of your Puncturing Sweeps heals yourself, so you'll constantly be giving yourself small heals, which will be useful for keeping you up. We're running 5 heavy on the body, 1 light, and 1 medium. Jewelry is all arcane at the moment. If you want to specialize a bit further, you can probably make this infused for the extra spell damage. We're running 2 recovery, 1 spell damage, and then our Mundus Stone is the Atronak, just to make sure we've got enough recovery. One of the reasons mechanical acuity is so effective on a Magicka Templar is when you deal direct damage, you've got a 15% chance. Every hit of your jabs is considered direct damage. So if you're hitting 2 or 3 enemies, you've got a very, very high likelihood of proccing mechanical acuity. Just to demonstrate what our kind of typical burst combo would be, so you would make sure you're buffed up, you would light attack, and then your mechanical acuity procs, and then there you go. So that's a fair amount of burst damage. Typically bursts a lot of squishier targets down. On top of that, this build, because you're in heavy armor, because you're a Magicka Templar, you've got the tankiness and the survivability to stay in the fight a lot longer, and you provide a decent amount of team support as well by giving the Purify synergy, Troll King to everyone who's standing in your Purifying Ritual, and obviously the emergency burst heal as and when required. Additionally, nowadays Magicka builds are very fast as well with Race Against Time. This lets you kite around, take cover behind objects, get your Troll King up, and then burst back into the fight. Now this build, it's running a fair amount of recovery. This does get cut down a bit when you're in no CP. So you often will find yourself doing heavy attacks from cover to build your resources back up before going in for the fight. I'll include a couple of clips of some Battleground games at the end of this video, just to show the build in action. But the rationale is you're tanky enough and you're fast enough that it's not really a hindrance to you having to drop out for a few seconds to get your resources back. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll jump into no CP Imperial City just so you guys can see the stats as there would be in a no CP environment, and then we'll transition into some Battleground clips. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the clips. Okay, so we are now in no CP Imperial City sewers, just so I can give a quick demonstration of the stats once we're fully buffed. Before I do that though, I just want to give a couple of pieces of information that I forgot to mention before. So we are using an ice staff on the back because it allows us to proc our weapon damage glyph from ranged while we're using our degeneration also for the spell damage as well. What we have done, however, is we have not put points into tri-focus. So what this means is we still get the cost reduction of using a frost staff to block, but by not putting points into tri-focus we can still block using our stamina rather than our magicka, which is very important. The other thing that I wanted to say is we've got a couple of different options aside from spell strategists that you can run on the front bar. I think mechanical acuity is very important, but spell strat, there are some alternatives as well. So one option is to run Cyrodiil's Light, same kind of layout, so one piece, a sharpened sword for the dual wield, as well as jewellery to keep the 5 heavy. This is a very good set. Again, it doesn't give any spell crit bonuses that we're wasting, but it makes us a bit tankier when we're doing our jabs and our radiant depression. It sometimes can feel that you don't have that much damage when you're using this, so if you want to be a bit tankier, that's fine. The other option is overwhelming. I farmed for ages with my friend to try and get a one-handed sword, which would be optimal because that would give you the extra weapon damage. I only managed to get an axe, unfortunately, but this is a very strong set as well. When you deal damage with a class ability, which Magicka Templar does multiple times a second, you have a chance to activate this, which does a sort of AoE dot around you, as well as giving you a bit of Magicka sustain. So this is also a very strong set as well. The other thing to mention is, in terms of passives from dual wield, the only real passives you need are Twin Blade and Blunt, because each sword increases your damage down by 3%. This is including all the damage of your magic abilities as well as your ultimates. I'm not sure whether this translates over or not, but I've put points into here nonetheless. Food-wise, we're using Bewitched Sugar Skulls. This is basically the best option. Gives you a ton of magicka, stamina and health, as well as a bit of health recovery. And in terms of potions, you've got a couple of options. You can run tri-step potions, which are very strong. I would have some detect potions, just because if you are able to get on top of a Nightblade, it's very hard for them to escape with all of your AoE damage constantly bringing them out of stealth. And the other option obviously is some immovability potions, either with Magicka or with stamina, up to you. Anyway, let's have a quick look. So you can see we go up to 3k spell damage, and that's not counting for the extra approximately 700 spell damage that you get from the spell strategist as well. Recovery wise, we are sitting at 1236 Magicka recovery. When we use a pot, that goes up to 1469, and then obviously we're getting an additional 240 Magicka every second, which translates to 480 Magicka recovery from our channel focus. We're very, very tanky as well, so standing in our channel focus, we're at the spell resistance cap pretty much, as well as very high physical resistance. We are outside of it, we still maintain fairly strong physical and spell resistances. Now, this build is currently designed for the Harrowstorm patch. However, I think going forward, based on what we can see in the PTS for the Greymoor expansion, the obvious replacement for Spell Strategist would be the new crafted set Stoons, Stoon's Favour, which gives you a huge amount of physical and spell penetration when you set an enemy off balance, and we do that very, very easily as a Magicka Templar with our toppling charge, which is guaranteed to set the enemy off balance, which plays right into our sort of burst window playstyle. Anyway, that's enough of me for now. I'll transition over to some Battleground clips. If this ends up being too long, I might split it into two separate videos. I got excited there for a moment. Anyway, that'll be all from me for now. Catch you guys later.